Hello, this is Angie Yingst, and you're listening to Centered, grounded conversations about the metaphysical. Welcome to your May 2023 Tarot and Earth Medicine reading. I'm Angie Yingst, and I'm here with your forecast for the month. I guess I should also say that it's sky medicine because I talk about astrology a lot. So the first day of May marks Beltane, the Gallic festival of spring, at which, the maypoles are erected and bonfires are ablaze, and there's all sorts of revelry, fertility rites, and the honoring of the sacred act of union. We're talking about sexual union and marriage and friendships. May 1st is also International Workers' Day, where laborers celebrate the power of solidarity. And not incidentally, this year's rites are amplified by a Sun and Mercury cazimi, which is a special conjunction that happens between Mercury and the Sun, and they're in Taurus. So this will be interesting. So Beltane is one of the greater Shabbats on the Wheel of the Year and in the Witch's calendar. And it's a celebration, a joyous dance of the maypole, and an honoring of the earth, the Siddha, or the Fae, and a celebration of all those unions that we just talked about, marital and friendships and sexual. So Beltane will have its own reading on the podcast, but suffice it to say, this is a celebration of joy and fertility. And May 1st also marks Pluto's begin in retrograde in Aquarius, and it's really a descent into our own underworld, so to speak, of our brains. All the dark parts. So this is the first of two Pluto retrogrades that will oscillate over the edge of Aquarius and Capricorn. And then Pluto will finally leave Capricorn in late 2024. So each retrograde has its own flavor. Throughout this retrograde, Pluto will be in a tight square with the North and South nodes. And that aspect really peaks at the end of July, but it really is about all of the transits. So the South Node is really about releasing, and we're going to have an eclipse in the South Node too. So this is going to be an interesting week, but this catalyzes a collective experience of ascension, evolution, challenging us to move past our fear and move past an individualist mindset into a societal or collective mindset. So Pluto will also harmonize with Neptune throughout the retrograde, and that reminds us to trust our intuition, our psychic abilities, our spidey senses. So Pluto is actually retrograding from May 1st to October 10th. And the thing about retrogrades is, like, when planets are moving direct, they move through the astrological constellations in order, right? So it'll go like Aries and Taurus and Gemini and Cancer. So when it's retrograde, it appears to be moving backwards, but it also moves through the constellation behind it. So when we start in Aquarius, we're going to re-enter Capricorn June 11th. And then October 10th, it changes again. So the astrologer David Odyssey says, since March, Pluto has given us but a brief taste of the future to come, an AI holostate panopticon, which renders us mortals into fuel units, making this year's International Workers' Day feel even more vital than ever. Centuries ago, the church branded those who gather around the Beltane fire as witches and devil worshippers, recognizing liberated bodies as threats to the mainframe. The terms have not changed in 2023, only the players. And I kind of love this political and spiritual perspective of remembering that this day, Beltane is also International Workers' Day. Now, in the U.S., we don't recognize this as International Workers' Day, but we do have Labor Day later, on September 1st. But this is a time to really honor the sacred connection between workers' rights and commemorating the historic struggles and gains made by workers for fair wages and fair working conditions. So Beltane is a celebration of abundance, and it's the hope of all of the harvest season ahead of us. In Beltane, we are looking at an agrarian calendar, and this is a planting time. We will start the harvest festivals August 1st. So this is really a time of hope. So, if you want to sing up the names of the workers and the workers' right fighters around the world, as our abundance shouldn't come on the back of the exploited. And, I did a cacao ceremony of vernal equinox, and, I had conversations with the people in that circle about cacao and the history of cacao farming. And as someone who uses cacao ceremonially, I'm keenly aware of how the chocolate industry exploits children and unpaid labor. So when you search for chocolate, for example, search for ethical chocolate, search for ethical coffee, thinking about workers when we are enjoying these gifts of spirit, and plant medicine is really important. And I don't want to get a political soapbox too much, but I'm just suggesting that on May 1st, when we're thinking about our own abundance and thinking about our own fertility, we can also spread that and just be keenly aware of like where we're getting our products and how we're getting them. Because, being medicine keepers isn't just about using the medicine ceremonially. It's about being a steward of the earth and steward of the humans and steward of the animals. And, so just some things. I'll put some links in the show notes for ethical cacao, for example. And, it's really important when we think about plant medicine. And, I don't know why I'm jumping onto this, but, when we think of things like tobacco, which is a very sacred plant in the Americas, it is snuffed, it is used ceremonially. And then, when colonization comes in, we start seeing this addictiveness, things are added to it and it becomes a different thing. Same with chocolate. Chocolate's psychotropic effects, cacao's psychotropic. It happens when it's raw and there isn't milk and there's not sugar. It's taken ceremonially, the raw, the cacao. And so this is an important part of the medicine is like, I think of overeating chocolate, and I think this is someone trying to get the medicine of cacao. They can taste it, they can feel it in their body, but they can't quite get there because it's an exploited form of cacao. It's the let's overindulge form of cacao, or the overindulged form of tobacco. Let's buy a box of cigarettes and just smoke them one after the other. Tobacco is very grounding. Tobacco is very protective. When I have students in my circles who are embarrassed because they smoke, I said, no, you're using the sacred tobacco. What if you, instead of had shame around smoking, we made it into a sacred event? And once we do that, then we naturally don't overconsume, because our ability to make something a ritual and a ceremony makes it automatically put into perspective, put into balance. So, okay, I'll get off my political and social soapbox so we can jump into the astrology of the month. So we are starting the month with Mercury in retrograde in Taurus, which is, personally making me a wee bit blunt and impatient with people's shit. But, I mean, it's happened differently for everyone. I think the big question for Taurus when we have a Mercury in retrograde in Taurus or we have anything happening in Taurus is this opportunity, meeting, person, date, event more exciting than Netflix and a comfy blanket? Because Taurus loves to be comfy. It loves to, zone out and have beauty around it. So let's be fair. Most of the time the answer is no. So this is a reprioritizing of stuff. Is it better than Netflix? Okay. Figure it out from there. Or is it better than whatever you're binging at the moment? So following April's shizzle, the universe keeps delivering some unexpected changes, some twists and turns, we need to adapt, okay? And that's part of what's happening during this Mercury retrograde and some of the other heavy medicine. We are in eclipse season, so we're working hard this eclipse season to just stay on our own side of the street. This is hard, and you will feel particularly internal during the times between May 1st and May 5th, because May 1st, Pluto goes retrograde, and then the full moon lunar eclipse arrives in Scorpio. These are descents into the underworld, okay? This is like dancing with Hades a little bit. So during this time, the universe is like giving us the ability to clear, cleanse, to let go. This is a releasing time. And this eclipse is in the South Node. So eclipses happen either in the North Node or the South Node. South Node's all about releasing. The solar eclipse that happened in the North Node. So during this time, we're really clearing. And hello, vulture medicine. This is stuff that we have to do. We have to cleanse our lives. We have to recycle. We have to use the medicine. And that's the thing about vulture medicine. It's not like you let it die. You have to understand how you're going to use that energy. Okay, it's dead. We're also, when we use vulture medicine, we consume that. We use it for our healing. We use it for nourishment. We don't just like, oh, that's dead, I'm going to leave it for someone else to clean up. No, we have to process the thing we're ready to let go of. We have to feel that gratitude because, vulture doesn't expend too much energy, right? It can't. It relies on the natural death of things. It does not kill. So, you may be flapping your wings everywhere, but you're really asked to pick up the currents that are happening, follow them. This isn't like you're going to have to sit and figure out what to release. I mean, you already know what to release. This is the universe sending you breadcrumbs and allowing you to be in the flow. Okay, you're not like Woodward and Bernstein. So that's an old Watergate reference for anybody who isn't obsessed with Nixon. But okay, what I mean by that is you don't have to be the investigative reporter of your life. Allow the universe to show you what you're ready to clear, cleanse, and release by noticing where are you annoyed? What are your hookable places? What are the places of disruption? The people, places, and things that are interfering with your next Netflix and chill time, those are the things that you're releasing. So mental, spiritual, physical, otherwise, you're looking at those disruptions. What are you stewing on? What are you pissed off about? What do you keep thinking about? What do you want to respond to? This is release it. Release that shit. This is vulture medicine. You process it, okay? Think about, what did I learn from this situation? What am I always going to learn from this? What am I carrying forward with this? And then release it. And if you're having trouble releasing it, just know that many of us have to release again, and release again. And we're going to do this every day until May 5th. Okay, maybe every morning you're doing a release ceremony. You're burning that shit. You're burying it. You're representing it with something and letting it go. So when we have that full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio, we are kind of dealing with some volatile energy because Scorpio is mysterious. It's a little death obsessed, but it can make even the gentlest signs a little vicious right now because Scorpio has that calm sting thing, okay? And it knows how to hurt you because it's very it's a water sign. So it reads your emotions. This is chaotic energy at best, maybe even chaotic evil, okay? And as a lawful good character, I'm just chewing my nails and getting a little worried here. Things seem unpredictable, making us all a little edgy, making us all a little paranoid, And I think that adage, like, it isn't paranoia if they're really out to get you kind of thing is true, but you have to be very good at discernment to figure out, is this warranted? Okay, because we can't release everything in our lives because we're not recalling our whole lives. Though if you want to rebirth, this is a great time. Just don't jump to any conclusion. It's really easy to start a conflict. I think whether you're able to finish it or not would be the thing up in the air. So start by tapping. Do some EFT before you jump to conclusions. Okay, so May 5th, full moon, lunar eclipse in Scorpio will give us a chance to throw our old life into a bonfire, watch it burn. We're also in Mercury retrograde in Taurus. That runs till the 14th. And of course, that's, all Mercury retrogrades are about communication, slowing down, not being easy for us, just having technological issues. So remember that, this is a really great time to be decluttering, to be cleaning out, to be organizing, to be doing an inventory on your life. Remember, when we do inventory, we're not like beating ourselves up. We're not saying this is a terrible can of corn that I bought. We're just going like, I don't want corn in my life anymore. Okay, I'm going to put it aside. I don't need that in my pantry right now. So particularly around earthy things, we are decluttering because we're in Taurus. So, I mean, my old adage that I say a lot is stop watering dead plants, meaning don't put your energy and your love into things that are already not working. If you're reaching out to someone, ask them to go out, ask them to go out, ask them to go out, and they're not responding, you're watering a dead plant, okay? I've noticed this in my life a lot, and it's frustrating. But just honor the living, breathing plants that are asking you for attention and water and food. And we're again allowing Vulture to guide us and to recognize what's dead and let it go. So it's not until mid-May, like the 16th, that the energy really begins to shift. Mercury goes direct on the 14th, and that really dissipates our brain fog and brings some clarity. And can we use clarity? Yes. Will it take a minute? Yes. Because, we are in a Mercury retrograde shadow period right after that. And that just happens for a couple weeks where we're just like, is it still Mercury retrograde? It's just because we're coming out of that period. It's not like it's just suddenly like, all right, we're direct. Everyone's moving direct. Our biggest messages come from the form of like synchronicities. Like I said, you're using that Vulture medicine to pick up on the airflow of what's happening. So you're following paths, right decisions by just letting them happen and unfold. You don't have to be that investigative reporter, remember? So we're just really trying to bring our dreams into reality. And what I'm saying is just pay attention. A lot of people, and I've mentioned this before, but a lot of people ask me like, how do you know it's a sign? It's like, I just pay attention to everything. And it's very easy during eclipse season with Mercury in retrograde in Taurus to do the Netflix and chill thing 100% of the time, to like be that kind of ostrich mode, put our heads in the sand, or have your head so far in the clouds that you're building castles. So dreaming is good, but we're on Earth, and on the 16th, like after the 16th, when everything is sort of moving forward, we're actually really going to find someone who knows about masonry and can help us actually build that castle that we've been dreaming about. So it's okay to be dreaming. It's okay to close the bind, turn off the reader, read, not do a ton. But remember that we really have to move forward as we get mid-month. So, yeah, build the castle in the sky with actual bricks. Be an ostrich. Like, how many freaking metaphors can I use? I'm just getting started here, people. But part of the reason for this warning about having your head in your own ass is because on May 16th, Jupiter enters Taurus. And that just brings optimism and light to like every corner of our lives. Jupiter is the planet of wisdom, of luck, of, enjoying life, understanding who we are. It's an abundance place. So wherever Jupiter is in your chart will tell you about your ability to embody giving, embody being of service, embody benevolence. And it'll also tell you about your ability to have resilience in that area. So when I say where is it in your birth chart, I mean which house. So I'm going to do a podcast this week or next week wholly on astrology. My friend Nat Anderson asked me some like awesomely big questions about astrology. And I've had this kind of sitting in the, like ready to go, but we've had like a lot of big energy. And so I just wanted to explain astrology from a dabbler's perspective, and that might help a little bit with understanding like what's what in when I talk about these things like houses. So Jupiter is really how you create abundance. And Jupiter only changes signs once a year. So it's really a big deal when Jupiter moves and it's moving into Taurus. Okay. And Taurus is an earth sign. So we're looking at those earth sign energies. So every 12 years or so, you go through a Jupiter return. And your Jupiter return happens when Jupiter's in the sky. It re-enters the sign it was in when you were born. So because it happens every 12 years, you can look at those points of growth. that occur around those ages: 12, 24, 36, 48, 60. So reflecting on past Jupiter returns will help you understand their significance, especially when it comes to unearthing wisdom or growing or having abundance. So for example, I got divorced when I was 24. I got sober when I was 36. I had cancer when I was 48. Those were all huge spiritual openings for me. Were they easy? No. But necessary? Yes. This new moon on May 19th in Taurus is super abundant. It's a fantastic time to set intentions, do moon cycle work, maybe make a medicine bundle. Just make sure to plant seeds regarding the area of your life that Jupiter is in. Okay? For example, Jupiter is in Aquarius in my 9th house. Okay, so to break that down, Jupiter is how I create abundance. It's in Aquarius, which is an intellectual style, very airy, smart, brain, in my 9th house. The 9th house is of travel, education, religion, astrology, philosophy. This is what I do for a living, right? Publishing. This is the way I attract good luck and fortune in this next year ahead, which is not all surprising because I teach, publish books, and talk about spirituality and astrology and philosophy. So when you look at where Jupiter is in your chart and, what house it's in, this is what you're looking to set intentions around, okay? So the next big shift of May is brought by Mars then, which is a very masculine, fiery planet, and it enters Leo, another fiery sign, on May 20th. And so there's a lot of ambition there. So you got this Jupiter energy and you've got this Mars energy, and this is really the time to make stuff happen. Okay? And you haven't really felt this since 2022, the end of 2022. Think fall. Okay, so September to December was so busy for me. And it was all about work and making connections. So this is time to push yourself to make shit happen. And Mars enters on the 20th into Leo, and it exits on July 9th. So everybody is going to be feeling this energy and trying to make stuff happen. So there will be a lot of competition, and Mars is not afraid of competition. If you are and you hate it, it's okay. You'll be fine. Between May 19th and May 30th May 31st is really, really intense. But, just keep it to your side of the street, as we talked about, and you'll be fine. So this year's really charged Taurus season will really be about those who want to live authentically, who refuse to change, bow down, or do anything that compromises their integrity, their creativity, their fertility. So, we are really looking at all this release stuff in the beginning of the month, and then empowerment, awakening, abundance at the end of the month. And once Sun moves into Gemini will sort of give us a lot of these ideas. Gemini is a very creative, curious, multidimensional thinker. Okay, so it pulls it pulls in all directions. It's not sagittal, right? It doesn't move in one way like a bicycle. This is something Pixie always talks about, the sagittal movement that we have, where we just move our legs one way. We get to kick out, horizontally, diagonally. We get to go in all directions. And that's what Gemini's brain does. And it can be maddening to talk to a Gemini, for example, like a Gemini, someone who has Mercury in Gemini, or whose sun or rising is in Gemini, which is me. But it can be maddening because it goes in all directions. They're a little ADHD, right? Which I totally am. But part of that is that's the magic of Gemini. It's curious. It wants to know about people, wants to know about things. It wants to share information. Okay? So Taurus's fixed nature is asking, know thyself. And then, stay rooted, stay grounded, stay centered. To know thyself means to keep thy boundaries. And then don't let the turkeys drag you down. So, when we're feeling centered and strong, chaos just can move around us and we don't fall in. So, when we move into Gemini, then we start sharing who we are. Chattiness. We're given the gift of gab. Welcome to my world. The solar time of Gemini helps us clarify, learn new things, get curious, adapt, really make stuff happen, make decisions. Okay, so the tarot of the month is the Three of Pentacles. Three of Pentacles is, it's all about purpose. It's a perfect card for this month. So the Three of Pentacles is, about, I love this quote from I don't know if it's the Buddha. Now that I'm reading it, I'm like, is this really the Buddha? But it's your purpose in life is to find your purpose and then give your whole heart and soul to it. And there's another quote that pops into my mind. Choose a job you love and you never work a day in your life. So we're kind of working with this Taurian energy of career, family, and home with the Three of Pentacles. Three of Pentacles deals with material things. Okay. And each pentacle in the three are about the way we grow. Okay. The way these three things synthesize for promise and abundance. Okay. Because like when we look at the suit of pentacles, we see a lot of abundance. Okay. It's all about coins and money and things. The Three of Pentacles has a different flavor. It is a worker. We call him the artisan. And he's a mason, or he's a carver of a sculptor maybe. And he is carving three pentacles into rock. And basically we have three people on the card: the artisan, the monk, and the benefactor. So the artisan is creating this beautiful pentacle carving on the walls of the church or monastery, while the monk and the benefactor look on and they have plans in their hand. So they're basically discussing his work, looking over the plan. So the three of them are kind of coming together. And so when we bring the two's balance and the one's potential, the ace is always about this gift from God. It's the potential of your soul path. This is what the three is all about. It brings the balance and the potential together. So he's an artist, and he is not whimsical in the slightest. He's making plans. He's watching them come to fruition. He's not just, like one day I'll be an artist and someone will just discover me. He's making stuff happen. And so there are never mistakes in the tarot. The backdrop of the church and the monasteries are super important. His work, though physical and demanding, is super sacred. So he's blessed by the monk, and he's rewarded financially by the benefactor. So these three come together for one goal. They're creating a sanctuary. And so this relationship is balanced and mutual. It's a triangle, okay? And it's mutually beneficial to all the participants. So there isn't a charity here, so to speak. These people are working hard, but they're at service. They're at service to each other, to the people, to the divine, to the community. And this card certainly harkens to the Empress and the Major Arcana, which is like just ripe with innovation and creativity, but it has very much its own personality. It's one of the beautiful supports when we get this card. It's like you have this promise of spiritual, creative, and financial fulfillment. The monk is the spiritual, the artisan is creative, and the benefactor is the financial. So I often pull this card when people are doing the work that is their sole purpose. Not just a hobby, not just a volunteer, but someone who's getting paid for the work they feel is their soul path. So we have these three pillars of career fulfillment: creativity, spirituality, and financial comfort. And this card comes with someone who's on their path, working their path. There's also an implicit understanding that the fulfillment comes because there's three of them, because there are partners. We aren't working in a vacuum, and part of the fulfillment comes with human connection. So there aren't gifts on this card. The artisan works hard, works really hard. He's the worker. May 1st, remember, we're International Workers' Day. He's working hard. But he's getting to the point where he's trusted with the heart of the church. He's trusted with the sanctuary. So when he's poured all of himself, his authentic self, into his passion and craft, it shows in everything he does. And you can see that he doesn't even put down his tools to talk to his benefactor and the priest. He continues working and working hard. And the hard work blesses the artisan. So he's honed his craft, he's become confident. There's a real creative side to all the threes, but the Three of Pentacles in particular. So anywhere where you feel creative, it can be really important to think of, how can I be blessed financially, spiritually, Creativity is a way of being. We often associate with traditional arts like music, painting, writing, sculpture, dance, but it's really how do you approach your work? Whether you're creating some art or not, how do you approach life? So think of creativity as a way of being rather than a traditional artsy fartsy kind of thing. Think of how you approach your problems. How are you looking at things that aren't so linear and stuck? How are you working your creative muscle? And this card comes when someone's competent and ready for this three-pronged approach. They're drawing clients, they're drawing customers, they're on the path of financial stability and professional achievement. And it can indicate getting a degree or finishing training in some way and moving to the level of the artisan rather than apprentice. And you see that more in the 8 than the 3. So this really is about the work being important, someone being in service, somebody helping. And that doesn't mean it can't change eventually. Like there can be somebody who works at Starbucks who just absolutely loves it, or someone who's, staying at home, like they feel financially like they can do this. Okay, it is about you feeling fulfilled in all 3. It's not a sacrifice. All types of service are important. Okay, so if you get paid with pure love, that's fine too, So this card can indicate when it comes in inverted that we are struggling with this. And so, when we work with a card as an archetype for the month, we're going to have moments where we feel really aligned with this card and it's upright, and other times when we are struggling. And the inverted, the lack of drive at work is really what's happening for us. So remember, you have both. You're wrestling with this concept of our soul work, the one that's 3-pronged and gets, how are we spiritually fulfilled? And even just asking your question, like, the thing I do for money, am I spiritually fulfilled? Am I creatively fulfilled? And am I financially fulfilled? If those are off, then we're looking to realign. How can we make that happen? Either in the place that you're at or somewhere else. This is Spirit's way of pushing us to make changes in terms of what we do for a living. So usually I do the animal medicine last, but I did feel like we should be working with vulture. And part of it is because of all this release energy, but also, in December 2022, I, pulled Condor as our ally. And then I wrote all the journey out. I really connected with Condor, and I just kept getting the message, this isn't the right time. Well, now is the right time to be working with Condor. And actually, the card I pulled for this month is it just was birds in general. So this journey will have like a time where you can connect with all birds, okay? But we're going to talk about this misunderstood ally of the vulture family, because the vulture comes in to bring the medicine of purifying, cleansing, and transmuting. Transmuting means it's like an alchemical idea of like one thing comes in one way and transmutes, changes to another thing. Okay. And a lot of times that's a neutral energy. So we're going to try to see things from another perspective with Condor or vulture. Like, is it gross just because it's dead? I mean, even vultures have standards. They don't eat everything that's dead, just mostly dead. And I actually, working with vulture is something that I've been doing for a long time. But this we're really going to work with Condor. And Condor is one of the largest birds in the world, if not the largest that flies. It has a 10-foot wingspan and a 33-pound body. So condors really need really high mountain areas that are windy, and they take advantage of the high winds to carry them. So Andean condors are found in mountainous regions, as their name suggests. But they also live near coasts because there's ocean breezes and deserts that feature strong thermal air currents. Again, they don't expend a ton of energy. So when you look up, for those of us who live in North America, we have tons of vultures. And we probably have the most abundant vulture area in the world. And part of that is because vultures were always feared, so they were hunted in other parts of the world. And we now have protections. We've had protections for a long time. And I'm talking about like 40, 50 years now, to protect vultures. Vultures and the condors that are in California, they're protected because, farmers wrongly thought they were killing their animals, and they weren't. They're scavengers, so they don't kill. They don't have the talons to kill. They have feet that are more like chicken feet than eagle feet. Eagle is like the missing link between raptors and, condor and vulture are considered raptors, but like the talon part, eagles will scavenge with vultures. Like they compete with vultures for food, but they can kill, whereas vultures cannot, condors cannot. So people all through North and South America held condor as central to the creation myths. And they thought of condor as a really powerful symbol. And the tribes of California, the Wayat, believed condor was an ancestor. The Andean people dedicated temples to condor as a symbol of fertility. And they believed that when he flapped his giant wings, he created storm clouds. So there is a prophecy that was shared in Power Animals, and she says that in the 1400s, the Amazonian jungle tribes said that the division of North and South America by colonialists means that North America would follow the path of the eagle, which is masculine. It's very intellectual, science-oriented. And the South America would follow the path of the condor, which is feminine, natural, intuitive. And the prophecy said the eagle people would be powerful for 500 years and dominate the condor people, but that the eagle and condor would come together and join together in creating a higher consciousness for humankind. So, this month we are journeying with condor, both for releasing and transmuting, but also for that higher perspective, for the higher consciousness, for bringing the eagle and the condor together. Okay? So we are looking at work we undertook in December. So think about what you were doing in December and how it's going to finish now. Okay, because we're now working with condor for that. For our plant medicine, Arnica came in, and I love Arnica. It's from the sunflower family. It gets its name from the Greek Arnicus, which means lamb coat. And it's because the flowers look really furry. And Arnica has been used literally for thousands of years for treating traumatic injuries, bruises, black and blues, strains. It's anti-inflammatory, it's analgesic, it's immune stimulating. So Arnica flower essence works with the emotional and energetic aspect of trauma, whereas Arnica, it can be made into a salve and it's put into wounds. And I don't mean open wounds, I mean bruises, bone bruises, muscle bruises, those kind of things. And it was generally planted in an area to keep a spirit from leaving or entering, and it was, planted around crops to ensure a good harvest. So it's used to protect the home and business from unwanted people and energy. So Arnica is a solar herb, and it connects with our higher self energies. So it helps us reorder and restructure trauma. Okay. Sometimes it's called mountain tobacco because it is used in a sacred way. It was used as an offering to deities, to guides. It can be carried in a sachet for inner strength. It's also one of the 12 magical plants of the Rosicrucians. And so the Rosicrucians were a member of like the worldwide brotherhood that claimed to possess esoteric wisdom. They're very similar to other occult groups like the Golden Dawn, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, or the Masons. They were combining occultism and Hermeticism and Jewish mysticism from Kabbalah and Christian Gnosticism. And the central feature of Rosicrucians is the belief that its members possess this secret wisdom. And so Arnica has like this great physical healing properties, but also the mental, the spiritual protection. So it's anti-inflammatory. It offers inner strength and vitality. It has a masculine connection and a connection with fire and the sun. So our stone medicine, Smoky Quartz is a big hitter. We've had Smoky Quartz a number of times in the past year. Smoky Quartz is just like an awesome stone ally. It's a heavy hitter for us who are healers and caregivers. Smoky Quartz grounds, protects, and clears energies. And it works in the auric field and energetic fields and helps to connect us to earth. So Smoky also draws densities out of the body, transmutes energy that no longer works. There's, Smoky Quartz ranges from like very light gray, brown to like a coffee hue. There's even like black ones that are called Morians. They're very dark, but there's a lot of Smoky Quartz that are irradiated. So if you're seeing a really black one, that means they've been just like gamma rayed to death. So Smoky Quartz, just make sure it's natural. If it comes from Arkansas and it's black, it's probably irradiated. And most miners or sellers will tell you if it's been irradiated if you ask. So Smoky Quartz is wonderful for detoxing. It's great like if you're dealing with an energy vampire or something like that. But you really want to use it for releasing, and protection. So our next stone is Carnelian. Carnelian is a powerhouse for creative energy. So it works with the sacral and the root chakra. It's really about courage and vitality. This is the stone you use if your energy is waning and low. Making a gem water out of carnelian is just chef's kiss, perfect. It almost feels like you're drinking a cup of coffee without the shakes, but it gives you a lot of confidence, active energy. It is the stone of the artist, and it's a very sexual stone as well, so it's a go-to for sacral healing. It's also a really awesome ally for strength and energy. Okay, so it's good for when you have injuries that affect the legs. You can work with Smoky and Carnelian together. They're just like perfect allies because they are both quartz. They're both silicon dioxide based, so they're in the quartz family. So they resonate really well together. They both have a 7 on the Mohs hardness scale. Our third stone actually is also a silicate. It's green aventurine. And it's just funny, like, to get these three. I think they're, I don't want to say basic stones because they're such heavy hitters, but they're like most people are familiar with them. They're not so far out and exotic that people haven't heard of them. And when I pulled them, I was like, oh, this all makes sense because we're coming into this, Beltane time. Green aventurine is a perfect ally for that. It is all about healing, growth, vitality, emotional growth, confidence. It's a heart ally stone. So it helps with emotional growth and it helps with like any healing. So if you have a wound, you can put green aventurine on. It helps with cell growth. And again, growing is important in this time. So, we have these three stones: protection, creative energy, healing energy. And so I'll be making little bundles for you with all of the medicine of the month that are for sale in my shop all the time. I'll be doing a Beltane layout for May 1st. And of course, if you're part of my membership group, you'll be getting a new moon and a full moon reading and other goodies along the way, like membership in my group, free access to all the Q&As that I do at the end of the month. And I, just am so grateful to be able to do this work and be of service to you in this way. So thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to Centered with me, Angie Yingst. If you'd like to send me a question or comment about this show or any shows, you can send them to Angie@themoonandstone.com.